love the new music. Hey, welcome. It is too late to cancel it. It's Sunday morning. You're in the right place again. I see all the regulars joining us. Thanks so much to see everybody. It's wonderful to see you. Man, what an insane week. I don't know what kind of week you had. Mine was something from participating in one of the People's Town Halls here in St. Louis, Missouri, where I was actually the MC for it, which was cool, to having a flame war on Twitter with some really nice fellow veterans who got mad at me, super mad at me. You know, it's just one of those things. It's great. It's great to be in the middle of these things. But we got a lot going on in the country, but there's important news breaking across the country. And we have deployed youth correspondent Kyler Messenger to Indiana on a very tenuous internet connection. And we're going to talk to Kyler now. Let's bring Kyler in from Indiana today.
Hello, Fred, you got me?
Yeah, I got you, Kyler. How is things in Indiana?
Well, Fred, things in Indiana are pretty good. It's been some beautiful weather. It's been nice, can't complain about Indiana. Fred, I've been around the campus today, just a little bit this morning, took a little walk, and the kids are talking, right? Everybody's talking about what's important. So let's just cut the chase. Let's get right to it.
What's hot in Indiana today? I mean,
draft happened this weekend. The NFL
that's huge news.
It is. Shedeur Sanders, the hyped up quarterback, just got his jersey retired by Colorado University, has fallen to the 5th round.
I know.
It's a crazy turn of events.
I know. It's been insane. What's the buzz on that amongst the youth?
Well, I mean, there's a big buzz because some people are fans of him and some people aren't. And one person who's a big fan of Shedeur Sanders is Donald Trump. He actually tweeted in support of him. He said, "This is bullcrap that this guy's falling to the 5th round." And I don't know. There's a lot of talk. Is it Deion Sanders' fault? Is it his fault for just not being good enough at football? Nobody knows. But as JJ said before the show, we'll wait until 5 months. We'll wait until 5 years to see if he's good or not. Fred, I'm cutting out on you a little bit here out in Indiana. Our service is going a little bit crazy, but I'm just going to keep talking right here. Look, Fred, we got to talk about what the students are talking about. There's lots of deportations going on this campus and around the campuses on college, Fred. I myself am a college student, so I just want to take this issue a little bit personally and a little bit serious. There's a lot going on. Donald Trump and his administration has been revoking student visas out of kids, and then these kids can't work. These kids can't get a parking ticket. These kids can't live without having fear in their mind of getting deported back home. It's a crazy situation that we're living in right now. The university that I'm at right now, Indiana University, has came out publicly and has said that they're going to help students who get deported. They're not going to actively give information to the Homeland Security about where these kids are from and about what they're doing in their free time. I mean, it just seems a little bit like it's secretive, right? The Trump administration is secretly revoking these kids' visas. And then when they get caught doing that, they're going back on it. They've been sued for revoking visas, and now they're going back on it. Tumultuous times we're living in right now.
Yeah. And you hang out with a lot of kids here at your school, right, that are international students. I mean, like, the vibe's got to be way off right now. I mean, are they freaking out? Or, I mean, it's crazy, right?
It's pretty crazy. Like I said, I mean, it's a big deal. People are living in fear, Fred. I have a friend who's from Bangladesh, and his girlfriend's from India. And Fred, like, I mean, this is not to air anybody's business out, but his girlfriend just got sent back to India. It is a real life situation that people are going through. And if you don't have any envy and you don't have any sympathy for people and you don't care what other people are going through, you probably don't care. But if you just have a little bit of that, it's hard, man. My friend, his girlfriend just went back to India. He's trying to figure out how he can still contact her. I mean, it's real life stuff that real people are dealing with. Fred, I just saw a 2-year-old was deported by the Trump administration and the government. A 2-year-old U.S. citizen who was born here.
With cancer.
Got sent back to Honduras.
With cancer. She has cancer. I got sent back. Now, the other part of that is Harvard's fighting back. I mean, do you ever think you'd be cheering for Harvard? Like, to lead the battle? I mean, I know it's kind of weird, right? I went to Harvard. It's kind of a weird thing. Got to mention that every show, by the way, as you know. I have to mention that every show, right, JJ? I have to mention it every show. It's the law. I have to. It's actually on my degree. I have to mention. No, but we digress. Yeah, I mean, Harvard's fighting back. Do you think? Are you guys happy to see other schools fighting back for once?
Yeah, I think it's huge to see higher education fighting back against the government. I mean, for Harvard's perspective, they're a private university, and the Trump administration and the government are trying to tell Harvard what to teach and are trying to tell them what to tell their students. And Harvard put their foot down. They're saying, no way, we're a private university. You cannot tell us what to do. We're going to do what we want to do. I personally respect that. I think that the attack on higher education right now is kind of nuts as a higher education student right now. I think
Yeah.
it's a little crazy. And living right now through this as a college student, the future, there's a lot to hold. We got these Department of Education cancels going on. And speaking about that, Project 2025 is going on. Anything that we've seen in Project 2025 in regards to universities has been happening. I mean, these first
Mm-hmm.
100 days with Donald Trump in the administration has been a little bit fiery. It's been a little bit nuts.
And the polls are shifting. I mean, I was just reading that. Well, a lot of you, like, let's be honest. Let's be honest. Dudes that look like you had voted for him. That seems to be already shifted like 30 or 40 points. I mean, I'm a big believer in the vibe. Like, what's the vibe amongst like your friends who look like us, dude?
Dude, the vibe is interesting. I'm that person that I'm friends with everybody, right? I'm gonna
Yeah.
talk to you. If I think you're wrong, I'm gonna try and hear your perspective and hear why you think that. And then I think that's how everybody should be, right? We really, as a society, should be garnering together and trying to value everybody's opinion. But there's people who are that I know that are far right conservatives that voted for Donald Trump and who believed in everything that he was saying, who are backing down a little bit, who are saying,
Yeah.
well. And it's something that we haven't seen recently. Something that
Yeah.
they're having a little bit of thought. They're having a little bit of evaluation, critical thinking, and realizing that not everything is going to be right. So,
Yeah.
interesting times.
Yeah, that's a big shift. I mean, that's an important shift, right? And I'm a big, like I said, I run on vibes, man, and you can get the feeling, right? It's like just look at the comments on our show. People are getting tired of stuff. People who were against it, like none of it adds up anymore. It's got to be crazy for you. I mean, now you're in Indiana, so I guess the other big thing we were just talking in the pre-show about. I guess Nancy Mace has decided to double, triple down on her opinions.
Sure.
I mean, she's a U.S. House of Representatives member who's using all kinds of like transgender slur. Do you think it's to appeal to guys that look like you and then the frat bros at your college?
I really don't know what it is, Fred. It's got to be she's looking for the frat bros to hit her DMs or something. I don't know what's going on with Nancy Mace, but like you said, a U.S. government official, a representative for the state of South Carolina, a representative for the United States of America using transgender slurs in person, using transgender slurs in a court of law and posting them on social media. Fred, we've said it before, it's a nuts world that we're living in. But the U.S. is representing themselves like this.
Yeah.
Obviously, like I said, I'm on a college campus. I've been
Yeah.
around a time or two. I've heard the words before that she's using. I've heard
Yeah.
many other words before, as I'm sure we all have. It's jarring. But when you hear a U.S. representative using it, it's even more jarring. It's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like we've all forgotten how we're supposed to be I mean, as a kid, you're supposed to look to the adults in the room. I mean, are there any adults in the room anymore, Kyler? I mean, you guys got to wonder at this point, if there's any adults in Washington, D.C. at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who's watching, but something needs to change.
Well, I'm not going to argue with my friend because something does need to change and needs to change soon before we lose all the guys. So what are your big plans for Indiana?
Tonight we're gonna watch the NBA playoffs, Fred. Those
Okay.
are my big plans for Indiana. You know, my sister is about to enroll in Purdue, so I might on my trip back go stop by Purdue and then on my way back home figure out something else to do. But Indiana, big college state. We got Notre Dame, Purdue,
Oh, yeah.
tons of students out here.
Yeah, well, keep us posted on your on the ground reporting. Ask some questions, bring them to us, and we'll keep up to date with the youth. Thanks for being our youth correspondent on the road, brother. Where can everybody find you again?
Appreciate you,
Where can they find you before you go?
Hot 5 Podcast, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. My name is Kyler Messenger, Kyler, and yeah, just tap in.
There it is. Kyler, get back to work or whatever you were doing.
Yeah, Fred,
Sleep. Don't wake up the roommate. All right, get to work. See you again later, brother. Cheers. Yes, important things going on in the country with the youth. And you know, the funny thing, we talked to Kyler, like, all right, we're going to make this funny. Yeah, that's not funny. None of that shit's funny. I mean, deportations of children with cancer, even the NFL draft, the president of the United States weighing in the NFL draft is just so weird. It's easy to forget how weird this time is that we live in. I like talking to Kyler to kind of see what's breaking through to them, and it ain't great. But the good news is this, it is breaking through. The polls came out this week, and of course, we don't have, I'm not going to, but the youth shift has been dramatic, like 19-point shift in just 3 months. It is happening very quickly where they're kind of snapping back because they see the pain. Look, this is a generation that lived through COVID, which was Donald Trump's last debacle, but they've seen, they had to do homeschooling. They saw the recession when they were first born. I mean, the kids are in college today have got nothing but bumpiness, and Donald Trump's been up their ass for about last 8 years. So it's nice to see it shifting. But and it's interesting that Kyler actually set us up for our interview that's coming up, because we got a great guest, and it's kind of hard to believe what's happening. And what we try to do is we want to keep up to date the weird shit that's happening, right? Because it's not just the big news. And with Doge and all the cuts and all the craziness happening in Washington D.C., there's a lot of stuff happening kind of under the radar that is really important. One of the most important, in my opinion, as a parent, I have 4 kids that are grown. I got 2 more going through high school and college. I got 4 grandkids. As we watch the cuts to education and the Department of Education and the destruction of it, that's a real thing with real long-term impact. Just starting next month, they've announced they're going to start garnishing people's wages if their student loans have gone behind, and something like half of the student loans are behind, which I'm sure Sheria will have. So I'm thrilled to welcome Sheria Smith. She's the president of AFGE Local 252, which is the Federal Government Employees Union. She's joining us right now live. Sheria, thanks for joining us. Man, you have had a bumpy few months, haven't you?
I sure have. It's I can't even believe it's only been 4 months into this administration, because it feels like 4 years. I wish it was.
I mean, you started off just fine. You were a civil rights attorney in the Dallas Office of Civil Rights. That's part of the Department of Education, correct?
Yes, it is. That's our second largest division. The first largest division is federal student aid, which helped me, and I'm sure maybe Kyler and all of his friends go to college. That's how I got student loans, Pell Grants. And so we have all been sidelined by this administration.
So tell me what OCR does. And my understanding is that they've shut down the entire office you were working at in Dallas, right?
Yes, they did. And we were the busiest OCR office. So OCR stands for Office for Civil Rights. What we did was, if there were students and families or parents who did not feel as if their school district or their state were honoring the rights of their kids, they could file a free complaint with our office. We're going to see how many times we mentioned Harvard, Fred, but
Woohoo!
colleagues went to other Ivy League schools. You got free lawyers working for you, working for parents, to make sure that students with special needs, student athletes who wanted access to sports, students who from underrepresented communities were not unfairly treated. So in short, we made sure that schools that receive taxpayer dollars, our money, were doing right by our kids. And this administration has decided that they don't want American people and students to have those types of that type of protection. So they shut us down. Oh, and Fred, I'm having a hard time hearing you. Yep. So by hard time, I can't hear you at all.
Swear it's all my fault. There we go.
Oh,
We're
there
having
we
a
go.
great time with tech. This is why we call it too late to cancel, because my tech, my mic decides to keep putting. So over to AirPods. I mean, that's such a significant cut. I had a kid that had a plan, an education plan. He had special needs. It was key and so important that we had that federal backing, and knowing that if his school didn't provide it, we had somewhere to turn. I mean, this seems like a very insidious effort to get rid of that. I mean, and this comes on top of the really weird stuff that RFK Jr. is saying about autism now. I mean, it feels like a complete assault on the system that supports special needs children, especially. Or am I imagining that? Do you think?
No, you're not imagining it. It feels that way because it is that way, and it's not just an assault on, special needs kids. It's an assault on American people, point blank, period. Because another enforcement arm that our agency did in federal student aid was made sure that colleges and universities and trade schools that received our taxpayer funding did right by their students. I know that you're a veteran. I have a cousin of mine from Gary, Indiana. He just came out of the Navy. He was looking to figure out what he was going to do. And of course, every Tom, Dick, and Harry, for profit college hit him up to get that GI Bill. And,
Yep.
I was talking to him, and I'm just like, they were trying to charge him $20,000 to go to an HVAC trade school in Houston. I'm like, what's the $20,000 for? Are you like, why would you pay $20,000 for a 6-month program? I talked to the school. I was like, well, can you tell, have put him in touch with somebody else who graduated and got a job that paid more than $20,000 to justify, the use of the GI Bill. They do
Yeah.
not. And so what this administration is doing is eliminating any oversight. So, if you're taking out a student loan, or you're using your GI Bill and you get, defrauded by these schools, they've eliminated the U.S. Department of Education so you can actually get recourse. So
And
it's an
that's a
all
scary
out.
thought.
Yeah.
It is, and on education and public education every way. Do you feel like this is the culmination of these years of assaults on public education? I mean, you've been there for a while. How long were you at DOE?
I've
You
been
were
in the
there.
Department of Education since the beginning of the first Trump administration. I came in 2016. But I'm a product of public schools. I grew up in Gary, Indiana. I was a school teacher in the public schools in the state of Texas, which is where I live now. I know firsthand that it's the state of Texas that, as for teachers, that dictate curriculum and dictate test scores. And so I think, in this administration, and particularly, not just an assault on public education, this is an assault on public service, and this is an assault on the public. To have this president talk about where you need to send curriculum back to the states. Well, the curriculum was always in the states. And to
Yeah.
have the very states like Indiana, like Texas and Florida stand behind the president, these are the worst performing states. These are the states that had the most civil rights complaints lodged against them. Stand behind the president as he signs an executive order to eliminate the only oversight arm. It's like signing, eliminating the police department because they haven't reduced crime, and having the biggest crooks and criminals back there cheering for the elimination of the police department. That is what's happened in the U.S. Department of Education. That's what's happening in this administration, and it's an assault on the public.
It's insane. Now, tell us about AFG. Let's start. You're the president. You're the president of AFG 252, right? Tell me about what your union specifically represents people at DOE, correct?
Yes, solely. So we represent every employee in the United States Department of Education nationwide, and we are nationwide. We're not just in DC. We're in DC all the way to California. We are a small but mighty agency. So it's only 4,000. Well, we were.
Yeah.
We're only 4,000 employees nationwide. And on March 11th, this administration illegally and unilaterally and without any reason eliminated almost 50% of our workforce. So the work we did do, it is not getting done.
And the work doesn't go away. I mean, just because they're cutting, they want us to believe. Look, the cover for all this, of course, Sharia is it's reform, right? It's improvements, and there's no way that's happening, right? I mean, the accusation
No,
against DOE is, oh, they're useless. It's an extra agency that was never needed. The work that you and your colleagues are doing is incredible to so many Americans, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, it
can you?
absolutely is. I mean, of course, if I'm a criminal, I'm going to say the police department isn't needed because I want to continue, doing crimes. So if I want to continue to have poor performing schools and I want to continue to discriminate against my students with unchecked, I'm going to say it's not needed because I don't want it. But it's funny. March 11th is where they laid off almost half of our workforce, and the Secretary of Education got on Fox News and said, "Oh, services are going to continue." Services, and then that same evening, FAFSA shut down. So kids that are trying to apply for college and figure out what their financial aid is, to this day can't figure that out. They have lied to the American public. They laid us off. They made us return our computers. But when if someone that we were working with emailed us, they would get a message saying, "Oh, just I'll get back to you soon." We can't get back to you soon because they told us to take the computers back. We have been eliminated from all access. So they're lying to the American people, saying critical services are resuming, and they are not. How can they?
That right, you cut the people, and we see the same thing in others. We see with the VA the same kind of thing with VA, where they say it's reform, but it's not reform. It's the goal is to see it
It's
fail, and
elimination.
then right, and then when it fails, they see, look, it didn't work because we tried to reform it and it failed. I mean, give me a check with the 50% that's been lost. Can you lay out for our viewers, like, so they understand, like, what do we talk about? Like, what kind of services had the American public lost? Families, working families, kids, what have they lost?
Yeah, so I mentioned before we did oversight for colleges to make sure they did
Yeah.
right the American public. So that division once had 359 employees. They made sure that colleges were eligible for Title III funding, for student loan funding, and that they were doing right by their students and not, loading them up with debt only to have them graduate with a worthless degree.
Right.
Those 159 people have been reduced to 59. 59. We had 12 civil rights offices, and I mentioned the Dallas office was the busiest. We had 10,000 open civil rights complaints. We are now down to 4 or 5 offices. They only kept the smallest ones. So attorneys who remain, their caseloads went from 50 caseloads to now 359 caseloads. That's the work is just not,
Ah,
and the work is just not getting done. It can't. And it's frustrating to see this administration get on radio or get on the media and lie to the public, say that they have a commitment to anti-Semitism, but yet you fired all of the attorneys that are working on anti-Semitism cases. So,
right.
what relief are you going to actually provide people?
Well, deportation, I guess, or it's all symbolic. It's really about the TV hit at this point, and your union members are suffering because of it. You've seen so many suffering. I mean, this has got to be a shock to so many members who thought they had government employee protections and rights, and it's all been sued. Is AFG? I know AFG's jumped onto a couple of lawsuits against administration. I mean, are you guys? Is your local involved in any of those?
Absolutely. That we are limited in going directly to federal court because we have an administrative act. So we have to go through the MSPB, which is the Merit Systems Protection Board, or the Federal Labor Relations Authority before we can get to court. And of course, this administration has gutted both of those things, but we're still helping litigation other ways. Like I certainly have signed affidavits to support the litigations being lodged by a lot of state attorney generals because they have lost services from our agency. We actually had a hearing on a preliminary injunction hearing on that yesterday. And so, state students are already feeling the effect of the Department of Education being sidelined because we don't have a workforce to do the work. And this government's, lied in front of court and said, "Oh, well, the work is still being done." How? By who? The ghosts? I mean, you fired everybody.
Right.
And so, we're, working alongside, and we actually have a link to, if people are interested in funding, helping to fund litigation, but we're working with other nonprofits, other partners, other recipients of our work who are now without those services that they rely on to make sure that we can get this righted.
Well, that's the thing, because the effects will be, they're not just long term, they're short term. They'll be hitting us pretty soon, won't they? I mean, what kind of effects do you think? I mean, you already talked about FAFSA. I mean, I'm familiar with that, having kids go to college right now. That's a very immediate impact. What kind of, I mean, we're going to feel this right now. This isn't the kind of thing that's hidden and, it's going to be delays. I mean, what's the impact right now, do you think
I
people are
mean, we
feeling?
also we also administered, Title One funding. So not only did we provide oversight, we provided funding for school districts and for schools. I grew up in Gary, Indiana, definitely a recipient of Title One funding because we didn't have a lot of property taxes. It's a very working class and poor
Yeah.
community, and so a lot of the programs that we did have, like a gifted and talented program that I came up from, was funded by the federal government. So we're going to see schools have to eliminate programs that they offer their students, or you're going to have substantial increases in property taxes. So that, I think that that's going to hit people. This administration completely eliminated our Office of English Language Acquisitions, which at the same time requiring that the English language be the, the main
Right.
language.
You have to speak English. We're not going to teach you.
Yeah, they've eliminated Title III funding, and so you're going to have because those people in OELA did that work. So you're going to have issues with students who need to learn English, developing that. So I think it's going to be a ripple effect, and also going to have an issue with teachers. Teachers can't go to college and get student loans. Then who's going to teach these kids? How are you going to have quality educators? So it will be a ripple effect, but it's also not just something that's happening in the U.S. Department of Education. It's
No.
happening in every federal agency. And so this government is just, running a chainsaw through federal services with no plan to continue those services, no concern for how Americans who rely on those services will get those needs met.
And that's what's terrifying about it all, right? Is this is not going to affect the billionaires and the rich people. Like, I live in St. Louis, which is rife with private schools, which is a whole history of civil rights we can get into separately. There's a reason for that. After Brown v. Board of Education, suddenly all these private schools sprung up that were religious oriented. That's, in many ways, it feels like that's the goal, right? Is to privatize the whole goddamn thing, isn't it?
Well, I don't, honestly, I think it might not hit the billionaires and the rich people first, but our economy is so interconnected, it's going to hit everyone. Because if you do not have an educated workforce, or if people are
Right.
losing their jobs en masse, the federal government is the largest employer in this country. If you're going to lay off millions of employees, who's going to afford tuition? If you have a small business, I don't understand Elon Musk, who can even afford to buy a Tesla if we don't have jobs. They're trying to also eliminate unions, right? So protections for jobs. If you're eliminating unions and the protection of their pay, who can afford the services? It is, it's I'm baffled by the lack of the incompetence of this administration and the lack of foresight. Because if you do not protect your lowest people, that will have ripple effects for everyone.
Yeah.
Absolutely everyone.
One of the folks on Substack just asked a great question. Goes, do you, and it's going to be a hard one. I think it's the hardest question I've asked this whole time. Where do you see hope? I mean, do you do you see any hope at all? I mean, it's hard. I mean, I was in the army for 22 years, and I've been in politics for 5, 10 now, and I saw this weird optimism streak. I don't know how they're trying to get rid of it. And Twitter's doing a great job of getting rid of it for me. Is there any? I mean, do you see any hope at all, and from what you're doing and what your union can do to fight back? I mean, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm a student of history, and certainly other nations have experienced this type of totalitarianism before and have rebounded. I think that what this administration and their supporters are doing is political suicide. Once people get the effects, I have hope that they won't have the opportunity to do it, at least be elected to do it again.
Yeah.
I think that American people were asleep at the wheel. We didn't do enough to talk in the federal government to talk about what we did. We just did our work, and so now we're having the opportunity to educate the American public and let them know why they need us. And hopefully we'll continue to have these conversations again. So we'll never allow this to happen again. It's one of the reasons why, I think it's important to continue talking about the Holocaust. So those types of things never happen again. I think it's
Yeah.
going to be important for us to talk about what's happening right now so it will never happen again.
I love it. And in the meantime, are there those in your movement in the unions? Are they preserving what's been lost? I mean, one of the things I get hit a lot with Sharia is people say, "God, we're losing so much. They're moving it so fast. They're cutting things." Will we? I mean, in 4 years, if we're able to throw these guys out of office, or 2 years of the midterm when the Congress gets flipped, hopefully, is there any hope we can rebuild this infrastructure we need so desperately?
I mean, we have to have hope. I will say in our local for, that represents U.S. Department of Education, we had honestly been preparing for this, environment for months, certainly after November 6th, because this administration campaigned to get rid of our agency. So we built up our war chest. We have prepared ourselves emotionally. We've, gotten organized to talk to our lawmakers, to talk to the media, to help with litigation. And, it is helpful that we have been prepared
Yeah.
for. I have hope with that, and if we lose hope, I have a passport and lots of friends overseas to escape. But again,
The regular bit, Sharia on the panel. Yeah, that's a regular panel bit. Like, what country are you fleeing to? We've had that we've had that conversation with, I think, with almost every panel. It's like, and I'm sure I'll ask Lisandra and Lace next too. So where do you plan to flee to? Although Kenise Mobley was so funny about 3 weeks ago. She's like, well, I've been actually asking all my exes, like, are they in open relationships now? Could they use which is it's a technique.
I, I've been in communication with a man I met in Turkey a couple weeks ago. I had this mental exercise in 2020. Actually, when I thought the election was going to go another way, I decided to fly to Tanzania October 31st and watch the 2020
Oh.
election in Dar es
Mhm.
Salaam and Zanzibar. And so I told everyone at the hotel, like, if the election doesn't go to Biden, I'm just going to stay here and start working with y'all. So I really, I really enjoyed Tanzania. Turkey seems like I mean, every place has its issues, but I think, watching the news about the United States in another country now is so different. We're even losing a lot of our tourism.
Yeah.
People see it as just like this is no longer the promised land. So yeah, I'm reaching out to exes. I've been watching a lot of 90 Day Fiance the other way. So
The
yeah, just for the little
technique.
have hope that that won't happen.
Yeah, you have options in some form, I suppose. Well, it's good. I mean, I don't know. I had a lawyer tell me to get the hell out of the country, and I didn't. I'm stubborn, so I stayed. And it's working out great. Uh, so far, so good. But Shreya, I really appreciate you. I guess the most important thing is, how do you feel about the fight next? And then I'll let you go. I mean, do you feel like you guys have the tools you need? What kind of support could you use from the 2,000 3,000 people that joined us today?
Oh yeah, well, absolutely. I would love for your listeners to and viewers to reach out to their elected officials. A lot of people don't. Again, to see the governor of Texas and Indiana stand behind the president to eliminate over makes me understand that they don't know who they work for. They work for us. And I think your listeners, your viewers need to remind the people in Congress, their senators, who they work for. They work for us, not Elon Musk, not President Trump. And if they're not going to do their work, there will be accountability. There will be consequences.
Yeah,
And the work that they need to do for us is make sure that we get our services, that we are able to provide for our families, that we have security in our jobs. That is why these people were elected, not based on transgender sports. That's so irrelevant to our lives.
yeah,
They're not doing their jobs. Point blank. Period. So we need your
yeah.
listeners to remind them they need to do their jobs.
Yeah, that's it, and that's what we've been doing a lot is just reminding them who they work for. As I mentioned at the top of the show, I was on one of the people's town halls today or Friday here in St. Louis, where Chris Murphy came to visit us, and that was sort of it. It was the whole mission was to say, hey, we're here, we're loud, and we're not going anywhere. You work for us, so I think that's true. And you're in Texas, I'm in Missouri, so woo!
I mean, we didn't leave. You think with the degrees, again, we're going to Mr. Harvard again, we would have, thought better about it. But
Yeah, I
here we
don't know
are.
how it's. This is the most I talked about it. This is what we do, you guys. When two Harvard people get together, it's like, oh, Harvard, Harvard, Harvard. I
The
don't.
tricky thing. How many
That's
times
it.
we
That's.
mentioned.
I think that's what they believe too. There's a secret handshake. I mean, whatever.
But again, also, we have a link for our legal defense fund. So if people,
Great.
feel moved to help us fund this fight, we're in for a long fight. We are prepared emotionally for that. And again, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're not just fighting for our jobs. We are fighting for our democracy, and we are fighting for public service.
I love it, and you get a lot of support if you look at their comments, and then over on Substack, everybody gets it. This is such a
Good.
case. Yeah, they love you, so it's good. We got a great
Oh,
family. So, all right, well, we're gonna let you go. Thank you, Sheree. Good. Enjoy church. Thanks for joining us on a Sunday morning. We really appreciate you, and keep up the fight. I mean, honestly, it matters, so we appreciate you.
thank you, Fred. Thank you for this platform. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.
Bye now. Oh, it's supposed to be a funny show, but man, sometimes, but it is serious. And these are the things we're losing. It's so good to have an expert understand because there's so much happening under the radar we don't see. And then you got the pieces you do, and then Trump says something crazy. We all chase that for a few weeks, but they're quietly dismantling the government, and it makes life very hard for very good people. For somebody like me who served in the army and relied so much on civilian employees of the federal government to keep things going. They're the ones that keep the juice going. They're the ones who answer your phone when you're in trouble. They're the ones that help you get your kid their student loans. All that's being gutted. And so people like Sharia and others are struggling. So, well, with that, let's have some fun. We got a great panel today because we're welcoming back a second time joiner with us. So, JJ, let's tee up the panel. Did I lose JJ? Oh, we're here. Yeah, well, that was easy. Welcome, welcome. Lisandra, welcome. Lisandra, of course, Lisandra Vasquez, returning guest, born in Puerto Rico. She learned to speak English watching TV, which clearly led to her career as a comedian. You've seen her roasting Carolyn Levitt daily for the last month. You were back a month ago. Carolyn, welcome back. Or, excuse me, I called you Carolyn. Holy
I
shit.
know, crazy.
Lysandra, we've lost Lace. Lace is over there too. She's Lace Larabee. Face you might know already. She's joining us mobile. We may have some technical issues because this is too late to cancel, and that's how it goes. But Lace is, you may know her from America's Got Talent, where she made it all with the semifinals, and she was raised in a residence and a Southern beauty queen. Lace, if you can hear us, welcome to the show. I hope you can. And,
Oh,
if not, Lysander's going to cover for you because that's what
yeah.
Lysander does. Ladies, welcome to the show. I think we got a little feedback, JJ. I'm sure we're going to talk about it. Hey, it's great to see you, Lysander. Welcome back, man. You've had a month, haven't you, sister?
Yeah, I've had an interesting month since I started doing the my daily press briefings. It's been an interesting month because there's never a dull moment with this administration, and that
Right.
is literally, people have asked me because I do. For those of you that don't know, I do a daily press briefing where I dress up as Caroline Levitt, and I take the news from the day before and I try to predict what she's gonna say in the press briefing. And sometimes I'm actually quite accurate, which is crazy. But most of the times it's absurd. It's a opportunity for me to show the absurdity of this administration and how they
Yeah.
can quickly spin everything and gaslight the American people. But what's also been really interesting within like just the whole month, there's literally never a dull moment.
No.
Like,
I mean, that's the thing.
I can't film. I have to film these in the morning because like there's stuff that happens at night. Like
Right.
I can't like the Pope died.
Right.
I
Well,
woke
try to
up
be a
in the
news
morning and I
guy.
had to
Try
write a new
try to
line about
pretend
the
to
Pope.
be a news guy, right, Lisandra? It's like it's like because we'll do the show. We had to stop because we'll do shows like sometimes we get like an elected official. You can't talk to them till they can't get live on Sunday morning. So we'll do a pre-record. And the problem is like I had to stop interviewing elected officials like Thursday or Friday because by the time Sunday comes around, it's been the Friday news dump, right? It's
Yeah.
like I don't know how you do comedy, keep up with comedy on that. How's
Well,
Lace doing?
Well, I think she's trying with the computer, but
I
so
love it.
like with like stuff on stage, it's different, right? But it
Yeah.
like I find that with the pace of I think that's the challenge for comedians, for live stand-up comedians, is because the
Yeah.
news cycle moves so quickly, and also you can't the audience that you have in person might not be like I'm in Georgia, I'm in Atlanta, but Atlanta's blue, but I'm still in Georgia.
Right.
So I can't control the kind of audience that I have. So, or like, so, people got guns here. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I
So,
know.
I don't want to alienate the room. So I don't really talk about, I don't share my point of view politically
Yeah.
really on stage. But I can do that online and write jokes about it in a fast and turn them out because
Yeah.
the audience is there and they can find me.
Yeah.
And
And it's
that's,
working well. How we got Lace? Lace, can you hear us? Oh, we lost her again. My
yeah,
God, she's having a rough
no,
day.
no.
There she is, right?
Yeah,
I love it. It would not be too late to cancel if we didn't have technical issues, I
for
swear to
sure.
God. So you and Jen, did you have that video of how we met the ladies the first time, how we
Yeah.
saw these two ladies the first time?
A bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made. And
Oh no!
Favorites from the election. JD Vance's Childless Cat Lady bit, and you two. Now you're both in Atlanta, right now? You're
Yeah,
both in
we're
Atlanta,
both
aren't
in
you?
Atlanta. Lace is a national comic. She headlines all over the place. And then I don't travel as much because I'm mostly focused with like making stuff online, and I
Yeah.
also like to stay at home with my dog. So, but Lace headlines all over the place. I wish you
Yeah.
could hear her, but I wish she could hear us. But
Yes.
but no,
Makes it hard.
we did that childless cat lady video as a response because we went to Italy on a trip, and I think we made our first "Oh No" video as a response to the Delta Airlines going down,
Oh yeah.
and we were like in Italy drinking Aperol spritzes, and we were like, oh, the airlines are going down. Oh no,
Oh no. What shall we do?
oh no,
It's so hard.
back home
So
like.
how do you get into care? I mean, so you have different. So those who haven't seen we didn't download those, but part of your bid is a new cross every day. How do you select your? I've been meaning to ask you since I started watching you. Like, how do you select your cross of the day, Lisandra?
Well, I have some that are like just like general Trump administration ideas, like the Diet Coke one was like
Yeah.
like the Cheetos one, obviously. But then sometimes it's just like what's happening in the news cycle, so I'll come up with it. Like the Signal chat one was very Specific to like that what was going on in the news cycle the other day with Pete Hegseth's makeup studio.
Yeah.
I knew that I had to do makeup brushes the next day. Um, and so, and then, like with the chess pieces, I don't know. I just kind of like listen to what's going on in the news cycle, and then I will try to come up with something from that if I can find it.
Well, it works very well for those who are not watching or
I gotta go get some fortune cookies.
the fortune cookies is a nice touch. Yeah, you gotta go. You probably got to buy the supplies. I thought the condom cross was a nice touch. You know, it's like it's the variety. And you're getting under her skin, aren't you? I mean, we're here. You're already under her skin, aren't you?
That's what that was an AI video. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure people have shown it to her.
Yeah,
Because those people are obsessed with themselves. So
right.
there's no
Oh,
way.
I know. I mean, I got attacked by the vice president quote tweeting me on Twitter.
Oh yeah,
Uh, yeah, and I did not, and I didn't tag him. Like
he was just
it wasn't. Yeah, it was. He was searching his name and videos about him, and saw my tweet, and then retweeted it to drag me. And I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. I mean, you're the vice president of the United States. I mean, don't you have more things to do on your time than harass a citizen you don't
yeah.
like? I mean, that was just the weirdest thing.
Yeah. Okay. I
Anyway, so
don't have
Lacey there. Oh, no, she can see us.
in here.
I know here.
Can
Wow,
you
this is
Lace, can you talk? Oh, let me see.
you can text her. This is too late to cancel, folks. This is what we do. If it worked live, it would never be the same show. That's why that's literally why we changed the name, because it's like things happen every cent, and I try to blame JJ for it, but 99% of the time it's actually me. So it's fine. We don't mind. We just figure it out every time. People are used to it. I guess the biggest thing we were talking to now. You guys, how'd you guys connect? You and Lace to kind of work
Um,
together. I mean,
well,
she's all over the country.
Lace has a comedy class that she teaches here in Atlanta. And
Ah.
when I moved here from Los Angeles, I wanted to find like a community, and so I went and took her class, and that's how I met her. And then it's then like we just became friends.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it. It's very it's just strategy to connect. Well, that works out well. And she, of course, went to America's Got Talent. I mean, what's next
Oh
for you guys? Can you, show us the. Let's go ahead and bring the picture up. I have questions about this picture, Lisandra. You need
my
to explain this picture. This is a
Oh
picture
God.
question this time.
Yeah. So we have this is Brunch with Benefits. It's a show that me and Lace do. We're hoping to take it around, but it's essentially like a little variety show where we feature comics, some fun performers. Like we had a burlesque performer on this one. This is our pool boy, Matthew English. He's also a very talented comedian, but also hits the gym. And so
Which is weird for that line of work, I think, right?
for people to have brunch, but also we did like a bunch of like we did confessions, we did questions. It was just a really really fun time to enjoy some comedy and like drink some mimosas.
Which is a good thing. And how's the turnout? I mean, you got a nice crowd going, and you
Oh,
and you guys push pretty hard for women comics and
yeah.
up and coming comics. I mean, I know that's a big part of your mission, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that one of the good things about being able to put on shows like this is being able to highlight our friends that we are constantly performing with. Because no, people don't have to. I used to have a podcast called Hot Comics, and that was like the mission
Right,
statement of that, which is like we. As comics, me and Lace and all of our peers, we get to witness live comedy all the time, and people say
right,
really hilarious things, but that are also like really cool points of view. And we get to witness that all the time because we're there, but people don't have time to go
right.
see these like new voices and things like that. So that's one of the things that if we have the to do, if we have,
Yeah. Oh, she can hear us. We can't hear her now.
because she's
Hi,
muted.
Lace. Hi,
She's
Lace.
Wait, hi, I'm here.
Ah, it worked.
muted.
This is okay. So it's been
Yay!
Yay.
on the fly. I am here outside of the Punchline Comedy Club right now, where I'm about to go in and help a class that I teach, a stand-up comedy class that I teach. In between touring on the road, and I've got all my students are going to be in there, and I'm going to be helping them rehearse and get ready for a 200 person graduation show in a few days.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah, but
See, this is what I love. This is what I love about this show because it's not just like make you guys do bits. I mean, you guys have. I love the lives you guys lead is so fascinating to me, and it's much more than appearing on stage and trying to make people laugh. I mean, you guys have whole ass lives, and you've had your journey, Lace, is unbelievable. Like, so everybody knows how this is set up. Lisandra was coming on. I said, "Want to bring a friend?" She's like, "Hell yeah!" And it makes my booker's life easier. And Lace is here, and I knew you were ready, Lace, from the video we showed, but. I mean, you've had quite a journey from America's Got Talent and everywhere else. You had a Las Vegas residency. I mean, you are a busy, busy woman, aren't you?
yeah, I mean that's the thing. People think comedy is just it's just glamorous and it's all that. And every now and then it is, but in between the glamour part, you're just working. It's a
Yeah.
job. It's the best job in the world. And I know that the show is more about politics and all of that,
Nope.
which well,
At this
no.
point, we just soon not fucking talk about
Right. Well, I was going to
you know.
say, I think it's also, I just wanted to say, in addition to us being entertainers, and y'all might have already hit this, and I apologize, Lisandra, if I'm stepping on anything you've already said, but I just think us being present on stage, touring, the way Lisandra is
Yeah.
tackling topics, I just think that our presence is political, as women
Yeah.
in stand-up comedy. I
Oh,
just think
yes.
we're making a
Yeah.
statement every time we do a podcast. If we're on stage at a shitty dive bar in front of 10 people, or if we're on stage in front of 1,000+ people in Las Vegas, we're being political by opening our mouths on a microphone. So
All right, we're done. No, it's great. No, that's exactly, and that's what matters. It is that voice, and we need to have a laugh at this time. That's one of the big things I've been. One of the reasons we kind of when Lysandra came on the show, we were on Democracy Sunday. It was great. And my original view was like this hard hitting political show, and then I realized I do that all week, and the last thing I wanted to do on Sunday was be dour and pissed the whole time. And so we literally rebranded it Too Late to Cancel because you gotta fuck it because I joke a lot that some of the darkest humor on earth is soldiers in combat, like I was. I mean, the biggest laughs I ever had was when people were shooting at us. But on the same token, at this moment in life, you just gotta kind of. It's because it's just so comically stupid, all of it. I mean, it is
Yes.
amazing. But you've got a new bit out. You got a new special out, the Sparkle Baby, I believe.
Sparkle Baby, yeah, yeah.
Because you grew up, you are a true Southern belle. I think believe you did the beauty pageant circuit at one point, which I was stationed in Savannah, so I know Georgia well, sister.
Okay, so where were you? Well, so you were in Savannah, or were you in
So I
like
lived in
Georgia
Savannah
City?
3 years, and I lived in Peachtree City, Georgia. If you
Oh
guys
yeah,
know you guys know Atlanta, right? You know Peachtree
of
City with the
course.
golf carts. You guys, I was running for mayor of Peachtree City, Georgia, when 9/11 hit. So I was
Wow.
Yeah, and I was a reservist, so I got mobilized in the reserves. But I was winning apparently mayor. So I'd be there with you now. As I don't know what I'd be doing now. That was in 2001. But yeah, I'm a Georgia boy for about 5 6 years of my life.
Hey, that counts. That counts.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
know how to pronounce things correctly, and that's all that
Oh
matters,
yeah, oh yeah. All the
Yeah,
all the all the important things. So you grew up
that's
in
fair.
you grew up. Where'd you grow up in? It was Southern Georgia, correct? Is that
Yes,
accurate?
so I've been here my whole life.
Oh
I'm like just lived across the entire state. You just listed two totally different areas of Georgia. People don't realize how big it is of a state, but
yeah,
for a long time, so from middle school to graduating high school, I was in Tattnall County, which is right there outside of Savannah. So know Savannah very
yes,
well. We like had our proms over
yeah,
there. We'd go there to go to
yeah.
Walmart. So
I was in Hunter Army Airfield, the military airfield there, and
uh,
this is my Missouri streak in me. My son's named Hunter. I named my son after an airfield, and I'm not embarrassed about that at all.
you shouldn't be.
So it was cool. So I'm almost. That's my Missouri thing. Let's go to the panel piss before because the Lace has got to go to work, and Lysander knows it. So the way the panel, I don't think I warned you at all, Lace, but Lysander knows. So we throw up 4 topics. You may or may not know them. They may come from your bits. You never know. It could be. And JJ has a whole ass cartoon thing now. So JJ, bring up the panel picks. And if you can't see them, Lace, we'll read them to you.
Oh, I see
Okay,
him.
you changed it again, JJ. Last week was one bullet at a time. Oh, anyway. So since Lace was silent most of this, Lace, if you can see those,
I
go ahead and
can.
pick one, and then we discuss. Go.
Okay, spray tanning toddlers.
Yes, your altered life if you didn't go into comedy. If I what would you be doing if you had gone to comedy?
That's exactly what I'd be doing. I would, if I would have kept that kid I was supposed to have in ninth grade, my life would be very different right now. I wouldn't be touring around, in a different city, jet setting the country as a platinum medallion Delta. I'm going to shout out Delta on here.
Wow. Okay.
Platinum medallion Delta member.
Wow.
I'd,
Yeah,
I would
you're
be,
Georgia. You got to fly Delta. You have no choice.
That's a
gotta
Delta
fly Delta,
loyalist right
right?
there. Yeah.
They'd
Uh,
kick me out of the state if I didn't. But yeah, I'd be somewhere south of Macon, probably somewhere outside of Savannah, right? Just like outside of a Holiday Inn Express. You just leaned up
oh,
against a Trans Am, smoking a cigarette. Lisandra knows that's just spray tanning my toddler, getting ready to go
yeah.
compete at the teeny tiny Miss Pecan Pie pageant. So
That's
that's
some good
that's
stuff right there. I'm so Georgia. My ex-wife was a flight attendant for Delta. That's how.
Okay.
That's how Atlanta. I was. Lisandra, we didn't talk about how Atlanta I was. I don't think last time you were
Mhm.
on. But I was. All right, bring up the picks. Lisandra, it's your turn.
Getting that perfect white complexion is
Yeah,
really
yes, because you are not. You are a Puerto Rican beauty. You were born and raised in Puerto Rico. Obviously, you go through a whole makeup tutorial, I believe, a couple times on your show to get the perfect pasty white complexion. What is the secret to? I think last time you were on, we talked about the MAGA look, the Mar-a-Lago look. I mean, I don't mean to
yeah.
keep going back to the looks. That's probably sexist. Uh,
No, no.
okay.
But thank you so much for asking. My perfect white woman drag that I do daily.
Yes.
It is quite a process. I went to a professional makeup store here, like a stage makeup store. And they
Okay.
gave me like the Ben Nye makeup so then I could really cake it on,
Yeah.
because I wanted to make my lips disappear.
Okay. That's key. Yeah, you do have lips.
um, from scratch. So, but then I got some like contour because her nose is very different from mine. It's very Voldemorty. It's giving Michael Jackson, and so like, you have to really get that with the shadows. And so
Mhm.
I also created a filter on TikTok to turn my eyes blue, but you can't just use that filter and then look as beautiful as I do. Uh, with that makeup on, because then she also has like the cheekbones of the spawn of Satan, and then she's got this like upper lip area that the internet has deemed as fetal alcohol syndrome upper lip, and so that's something that I really need to highlight during my
That's important. Yeah,
yeah
it is quite a transformation to
yeah
watch you
yeah.
go. I did honestly. I think the first one I saw when it floated across my Instagram, I didn't recognize it as you at first, and I was like, "Oh, look at this! Oh, I know her! Holy
Did
so,
people
you tell the story about last night?
no, but people have told me that they thought they were following two different people.
see, yeah, it's quite a transformation. What happened last night? Lace dined you out. Talk to
Oh,
me.
oh, so it was really sweet. I was at a bar before a show, and I was sitting there just having I was having an espresso martini because I'm a girly pop,
Yes,
the
yes, that's
real
that.
one. And so I was having an espresso martini, and then there's these two women that were next to me. They're talking about politics, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, we just yapping. Sorry, it's rude."
Right.
And I said, "Oh no, literally, I was like taking notes for my press briefing."
There you
But I was just like I had my phone and I had my little notebook just taking notes for what I was going to film the next day. And I was like, "Oh
go.
no, I'm literally taking notes on politics." And they were like, "Weirdo, you're at a bar by yourself taking notes on politics? That's insane. Like what kind of a psychopath are you?" And I said, "Oh no, I'm not like a crazy person. I write satire. Like I write political satire, comedy." And then they were like, "Oh, that's so funny. We love satire. Do you follow Lisandra Vasquez?" And I was like,
Never heard of
Crazy
her.
moment.
And I was
There you
like,
Crazy
go.
moment.
what's gonna be surprising to you is that yes, that's me. I'm like,
Thank you.
oh, that's crazy. I'm like Hannah Montana,
There you go.
but like evil.
Best of
Never where
both
you thought
worlds,
you'd be.
baby.
Yeah,
Not where you thought you'd be.
it's the worst of both worlds. Okay,
That's like exactly.
yeah,
Well, at least you're famous now. It's awesome. Getting recognized in the street. I get recognized at the grocery store sometimes. It's really quite strange,
what a guy.
Yeah. All right, bring the bullets up there, brother. All right, Lace, you're up.
Nice.
All right, Simon
Please pick
Cowell. We
it.
got to talk about him.
Yes, I was hoping you picked that one.
Okay.
Is he a jerk or is he just British? I was watching when he buzzed you. For those who don't know, who missed it already since Lace was late. She was an America's Got Talent season 17, I believe. Went all the way
Hmm.
to semifinals. Even did the
Yep.
AFGE All Stars for a while there. I mean,
Yep.
you've been on there, and Simon like blew up your right as you're getting ready to finish your bit. I think is
Yeah.
he as much of a jerk as he seems? He seemed like an asshole in that show, especially
So
yours.
right, especially mine. And I wasn't in on the bit. You'll be surprised to find out not all reality TV show is as it
What?
seems.
Hold on.
Crazy.
What?
What? What? There's
Whoa.
producers and a storyline?
What?
That's
What?
crazy.
That's good.
Crazy. But yeah, I kind of found out. So what they were trying to do was like engineer a back and forth with us, but then didn't let
Oh,
me in on it.
okay.
Because the
Okay.
first time I was on, so I was on a total of 4 episodes. The first time I was on, there was this very fun, organic moment where I'm in the middle of my bit and Sofia Vergara, the Sofia Vergara, interrupts me, and
I'm a fan.
right, I was like, and
Yeah.
you stop talking when she starts. Like I was like, yes, ma'am. What do you need? And she interrupted me and asked me a question. I'm in the middle of my audition, like a live audition, and I go and I turned to her and I answered her question in a joke, and then I went right back into my set. She was just so casual, and I was being so casual on stage, just doing good at
Yeah.
stand up, that she
Mm.
felt like we were in the middle of a conversation and forgot that I was in the middle of an audition. So they were trying to like get another moment going, but this time me having a back and forth with Simon, and I didn't know that. And so I got angry. I was mad.
I
I
could tell.
was, oh, I was mad. My mom and dad couldn't make it because my dad was sick at the time. And so they weren't there in person, and they're watching that moment live on television. And my mom was like, she was screaming at the TV because she knew what my face was saying. She's like, don't you do it, Lace. Don't you say there's children in that audience. Don't you say what you want to say. But the thing is he's playing a character more than anything. He's
Right.
very nice off stage.
Ah.
Um, yeah, he was very kind. And then at the roast, they brought me back or at the finale, they brought me back to roast him. So I got the
Yeah.
last laugh. I got to come back and I was then in on the bit,
Yeah.
So
There you go.
that was more fun. But to hand it to
Important
him
to
on live
know.
TV was also really fun. It was a good time.
It was something to watch. I mean, it was great. It's great to see your
Thanks.
success. I mean, you've been out there doing it. Like nice. You had bumpy couple years too. I mean, everybody since COVID's been going crazy, and
Yeah.
and now you just had. I mean, you had a residency in Las Vegas. I think you were saying, or I mean,
because
goodness
of
gracious.
America's Got Talent.
Wow.
So I ended up they had a live show in Vegas at Luxor Theater for 3 years. I got to host it for one of those years. Me and another comedian, we would switch off, and as our travel schedules allowed, and we would go in, and I hosted over 65 shows in Vegas that year. It was an
Wow.
absolutely incredible experience. The show doesn't exist
Yeah.
anymore. They stopped like a year and a half
Yeah.
ago or a year ago, but
Yeah.
there's nothing like it. Nothing like it.
Not to go back to the picks, but I mean, since we got late with you, Lace, tell us about this comedy school you're doing because I know people want to know about this, and I'd love to get that in. We can go back to fun, but I just love what you're
Yeah.
doing. I mean, it just feels like you got a really great shot in the arm with AGTV, and now you're out doing these things you can do for others and bringing them along. It feels like.
Well, the thing is, I mean, I really don't have the schedule for it. You see me having to work out of my car in this moment. I'm always trying to be 15 places at once. So I
Yeah.
very clearly don't truly have the time, but I still have the heart for what I created. 7.5 years ago, I started a school here in Atlanta. It's been voted best comedy school in Atlanta. Not a big deal. It is what it is. But yeah, I started it for just women, and I had so many women come up to me as I was a working comedian. I have been for 13 years, and they would go, how are you getting what you're getting? Like, how are you booking this? How do you know this? Where did you get this information? And I was
Yeah.
like, well, I'm just learning trial and error. It's hard out here.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll just throw a little class together. I'll just do like a workshop, and I'll just show, whoever wants to sign up, I'll give them all the information, and I'll be done.
Yeah.
Here we are 7.5 years later, 800 plus students, 52 classes since then.
Wow. Oh.
And word of mouth, and I have clubs begging me all across the country all the time to do what I do here over there, but I don't know how to. I need 13 of me. I don't know how to do.
Oh.
I don't know how to widespread it yet, but I still come back. I teach it in between touring, and yeah, I've had like Pulitzer Prize winners take my class. I've had most every business owner in Atlanta take it. Everything from stay-at-home moms who this was their dream, and then they take the class,
Yeah.
and then now they're on the road doing stand-up comedy. So it
Wow.
literally
And she's
changed
not
their
going to say
lives.
this part, but she's like done a lot. Like the butterfly effect of her teaching this class has done a lot for the Atlanta community and like just
Yeah.
comedy in general. Just because it's all it's empowered like a lot of women to be able to own like be comfortable on stage and just like own their career as comedians. And a lot of the shows in Atlanta for a while there were run by women that are in our group. And then
Wow.
we also have like a really good friendship with everyone that like all the women that are working comedians. We can all go to each other whenever we need anything.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
We do a lot of like sending the elevator.
We can be like, this person should get sued.
Yeah. But we do a lot of sending the elevator back down, which is not something that people expect to happen in the comedy world, right? Everybody just thinks it's all dog eat dog and it's so competitive and it's all that. It's more of a community than anything, and we all have something to say. We all have our, there's an audience for everybody. And what we've done here, and I like to think that I was kind of a part of it, but it's also the Southern thing too, which Southern hospitality, we give back. We're kind of a community. You get it as
Mm-hmm.
someone from the military, right? Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
we don't leave anyone behind unless they deserve it. There
Yeah,
are
I
a
was
bunch
gonna
of
say unless we want them.
Well, there's some people we should, but yeah, well, it's
yeah,
amazing. And
but
when the
yeah.
Substack guest was asking, like, hey, is there where they can find out more? I mean, have you done online, or do you do like sessions that others can reach other than in Atlanta? I mean, nope, not yet. It's too much to ask.
It's a lot. I've considered all of it. Once again, I need
Yeah,
I need somebody who's, hey, if anybody knows anybody watching this, if anybody wants to help me create an online
Version.
school for how I do this, to like, so people can cut like a master class, but they can take it online. I know there's places
yeah,
like Teachable and all of that.
yeah.
If anyone knows more about that kind of stuff, I'm down. I would love to be able to make this available to the masses because I'm very proud of the work that I've done. I need to finish the book I've been working on for the same thing. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I know that feeling. I was involved with an organization called Armed Services Arts Partnership, ASAP, and they're based in DC. And ASAP does that. They bring veterans in and teach them comedy, and they've expanded quite a bit. But what's fascinating is like when you were saying earlier about how business people have taken it, the things that work in stand up comedy, it's storytelling. This is storytelling in its finest form, callbacks and
Mm-hmm.
hooks, and themes and that.
Misdirects and
Right,
harnessing, like
right.
telling your story, but in a succinct way that can, resonate with an audience. Like that's the whole
Yeah.
goal,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
And the modern audience is so interesting to me. You both have had success online. I've watched your bits, Lace. You're good at understanding that you've got to do like a 3-minute bit in there. I mean, it's interesting to see how the comedy is maturing with the online. Like you're getting a lot of viral fame right now, Lisandra. It's like that. Has that gone into your teaching as well? Are you teaching these folks to understand that you have to be even tighter now, right? Don't you?
I mean, the whole goal with the class is to get people to do the tightest set possible. So I have
Yeah.
people who are established comedians who are like, I need to write a new five. And I'm just, they don't have the discipline to do it or the time to do it. And they'd rather
Yep.
just have a professional listen and give them notes. And honestly, I would like to take my class. Like I need
Yeah.
this for myself, so
Yeah.
established comedians do it, and then people who come out of nowhere and never even held a mic before, and then they want to do it as well. So the goal for everybody is to take long drawn out ideas or long stories or just half-ass written stuff and make it tight. And that's good
I
for
love it.
online, but also for in person on stage too, because an audience is
Exactly.
attention
Yeah. And
span
anywhere nowadays, right? It's all short attention span theater. Lysandra, you're going to say something too.
and drunk. So
Yeah.
there's the other thing too. Yeah,
Well, that
but
is the way I've been trying. That's how I've been muddling through this entire last 4 months. So yes, I had a very serious conversation about my drinking the other day. The fact that, and we decided, yes. And your point is like, okay, and
And have you been paying attention to what's going
yeah,
on
I
in
don't
the
know.
world?
You know what's going on? I was hoping. So the other day said you're a veteran. You need to develop a healthy drinking and obviously painkiller habit. Like I've never done that. Drinking, I might now at this point though. Lysandra, you're going to say something. I cut you off. I know we're getting to. Oh, we got overtime, but go ahead.
No, I was just because like with Lace, like some people will do like online content is different than obviously on
Yeah.
stage. It's very different skill sets and like it, people you can be good online and be horrible on stage. In fact, a lot of
Yeah.
people are. But they
Yeah.
can
And
still take
vice
it.
versa. I haven't
Or vice
figured out
versa.
how to
Well, and some
fucking
people are
Yeah.
incredible like performers on stage and then just don't have the because doing videos online, it's a very particular set of skills. It's and not it's not for
Dedication.
everybody, but some people just need to be. I mean, some like people that need to tour. You know what I mean? That's that's their zone of genius.
Yeah. Well, lady, I know you got a lot to do. It's a Sunday morning. Elise, you're sitting outside your job right now. You're current, and I'm so glad you're able to connect with us finally. That worked out great. I mean, it worked out fantastic. This is too late to cancel, so it's always crazy. Now comes the all important plug portion of the thing. Lisandra, we've already got your name up there. Lisandra, where can they find out more? You're easy to find, I think.
That's what my mom says. She says you're too easy to find. No,
Yes,
Lisandra V
my fiance
Comedy.
says the same thing.
I post mostly on TikTok, but then I'm also on Instagram, Blue Sky, YouTube, and Substack. All Lisandra V Comedy.
And the clubs in Atlanta, if you want to find her, the clubs in
Yeah,
Atlanta,
find me in the
both
club.
comedy, apparently comedy and bars, just sitting by herself. If you want to
Yeah,
hit
you
on
can
her,
also find me just if there's a good espresso martini. Chances are I've been there.
all right, there's your
And I
tip
might
for the
be
day
there.
right there.
I might be
That's
there.
a very good tip. And Lace, where they can hunt you down.
Would love for everyone to follow me. I post mainly on Instagram, and then I let Instagram also post on Facebook. That cesspool over there as well. But
Yes, yes.
yeah, Instagram and Facebook, also TikTok. I need to get back on it more. I love Threads. So follow me on all that at Lace Larabee. I've got shows coming up immediately. So if there's any listeners out there who happen to be in Cincinnati, Ohio, I am going to be at Go Bananas Comedy Club this next weekend. It's going to be May 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, I want to say, or
Wow.
2nd, 3rd, and 4th, something like that. So
Yeah.
whatever that Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, I've got shows at Go Bananas Comedy Club, Cincinnati. I got to sell them tickets or my manager's going to drop me, y'all. So y'all got to get over
You
there and
heard
get
it,
to Go
folks. You heard
Bananas.
it here. Get off your ass. Get to Cincinnati. Tell your friends in Cincinnati to go see Lace. We got to make this show work. They won't come back. Although Lysandra came back twice now, so she is hooked now.
Yeah.
I know she's gonna be my regular now. Man, we're talking Lace. There you go. I can't get it. It's inevitable. I am inevitable. Well, thanks both of you. It's so good to see you both. Lace, I'm so glad you connected. I know. I'm sorry it was so painful, but I'm glad you were able to make it. We'll have to get you back
Yeah.
on again for a long bit. So
Would
congratulations on all your
love to.
success. Good luck,
Thanks so
ladies. Thank you
much.
so much. Keep us laughing. The
Thank
Substack
you.
audience has been they're like they're thanking you both on Substack. You can't see it on the screen, but
Yay. Thank you for
Aw,
appreciate you both.
that.
So keep us laughing, guys. Good luck. See you
thanks
soon.
so much. Thanks
Bye,
for having
guys.
us. Bye.
Bye now. Well, that was fun. Eventually, look, we changed the name of Too Late to Cancel it because it's too late to cancel. But that's how we figured the technology out, and it worked out great. What a great pair of ladies and professionals, and I'm just so glad they're able to join me in some form. And hunt them down. Go to their websites. You will laugh your asses off, and that's what we all need right now. So thanks so much for joining us. Our next guest, we got to get back to talking serious, but we kind of keep it light here, but we'll try. Angelo Carusone is the president of Media Matters for America. If you're familiar. Media Matters is an incredible organization. They track the online discourse and they track what the right wing is doing in the politics. And they've been watching very carefully as Project 2025 is unfolding. The plan they told us they're going to unfold a year ago is the plan they're unfolding. So I'm a big fan of Angelo and his work and everything. So, Angelo, it's so good to have you join the show. Let's bring Angelo Carusone on for the interview.
The show is so great to have you. I'm a giant fan of what you guys do, fan of your organization. Thanks for joining us, man, on your days off.
Thanks for having me. Feelings totally mutual. So it's great.
Oh, I appreciate it. Now we're approaching the big 100th day, right? The big measure of a presidential administration. It's 100th day of Trump 2.0. I guess before we dive into any specifics of things going on, are there really any surprises from your perspective? I mean, you guys talked about Project 2025 and all these other things. We're 100 days in. Has anything really surprised you to a certain extent?
I mean, obviously the easy answer is no, but it's the truth. I mean, they literally wrote what they were going to do beforehand, and with pretty granular detail. So, if you are surprised, I think it's because you kind of want to be at this point.
Right.
And I mean, they were very explicit and drove through almost all of it. I think the only thing that's a little, I guess maybe a little tiny bit surprising is maybe how much he's willing to tolerate some of the other people making him look bad. Normally he wouldn't do that, like with Pete Hegseth, for example, who actually isn't performing super well on camera and on TV. He looks kind of frantic, and that's usually a no for Trump, but he's been reasonably tolerant of it. And that's probably the only thing that's a little surprising.
Yeah, it's funny. I agree. You'd expect him he hates being embarrassed. He hates having the same topics come up. I mean, Signal keeps coming up. He's got to hate that. I'm kind of surprised myself that he's put up with as long as he has, but you're right. If you looked at Project 2025, you kind of knew what was going on. There's really no surprises. And so many of us said this whole Project 25 thing is the plan. I did several videos on it last year. God knows you guys did and have since. It is really true the game plan being followed right now, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it is. And like the granular detail of it is always the thing that I think even now it's so lost on people. It's just how detailed it is. I mean, it's everything down to like, we're going to remove the temporary status for Venezuelans. That's in there. I mean, it's like literally right, like to the T. I mean, it is so specific at every level. Or getting rid of this like interagency, a carbon policy, committee. It's like, that's in there too. Nobody knows or cares about that. It's a very esoteric thing. It's super part of like, the stuff that usually is so in the weeds and never gets any attention. They did that right away, or letting agency heads have some of the decision-making power around budgeting, all of the real true granular detail. It's not just the big things like Schedule F or traumatizing people. It really does get that specific, and they said it. And Russ Vought's a serious guy. And that's the other part about this. Like these are serious, like he's a serious guy who has a really intense belief. It's like if he has the fervency of a cult member. I mean, he's truly deeply intense. They're Christian nationalist or Christian nationalist adjacent, however you want to think about it, but they're true believers with an agenda and the latitude to do it. So it's pretty clear.
I mean, that's the thing. And one thing I've been saying a lot, and I think people say all the time, I can't believe, Trump is doing this or Trump's. It almost feels though the one thing that has a little surprise. I guess it hasn't surprised me though. I'm nothing surprised me about it, but I don't think you're really in charge. Stephen Miller's doing things. Will Sharf drops EOs in front of him, right? Russ Vought's running his thing. Elon Musk is doing his thing. It feels like Trump got his meme coin. He's getting rich, right? Yeah, he got himself out of jail. I mean, now he just wants to play golf and sign EOs, right? I mean, it doesn't feel like he's actually running this thing, does it?
I am so glad you said that because, like, I think that is one of the through lines that does get missed in some of the media attention. That it's very hard for, I think, when we're dealing with media, press, anything. It's always hard to have multiple stories at the same time, especially when they seem contradictory. Like Trump is terrifying and destroying our democracy and is an authoritarian, all this stuff, but he's also not at the wheel. And those two things can be true at the same time. You can be 100%. A figurehead and help clear the road, but not be a deep granular implementer. And I thought what the Signal story illustrated is that he's just not paying attention. Imagine a president not being involved in the decision-making around a strike. Right. I mean, like that is just like, that's crazy. Or, and that's, or when he's getting his EOs, and he has that guy next to him who's like describing the document he's about to sign. Yeah. There's definitely times where he literally is hearing it for the first time. He's like, oh, that's pretty interesting. Dude, that's a little hard.
Andrew, we're constantly talking about on the show, Blazing Saddles. I think you're probably old enough to remember Blazing Saddles, right? Yeah. The governor, work. Sir, we're signing this one. We're going to get the Indians out of there. That's Trump. Well, I remember that first day. He's like, well, that's an important one. Like he's never fucking seen him, I mean, it's just a joke. I mean, you can literally see, the only thing missing is the big booby, secretary next to him, which I think actually does exist too. But you're right. It's like, I don't think he's actually in charge of anything. And people think he is. And you're right. The other day, just this week, like, sir, what do you think about the Russian general being killed, the bomb in Moscow? And I think you saw the exchange. He's like, what? Like, the bomb. Where? Moscow. Oh, that's bad. Like, bro.
He's not paying attention. Like, no. He's not there. And you're right. I think we, and that's part of what makes the fact that they have this well-constructed document so clear is that there's not the one person that could stop him. Trump is just not present. And Vance's job is being a sort of a Twitter troll. So there isn't sort of another function here to say, hey, don't do this thing. It's very obvious where the centers of gravity are, and it's with Russ Vogt and Stephen Miller. And that's even in some ways kind of scarier.
I think it is. I've been saying that since day one. Those are truly evil people but they're smart and they know how to get the
Yeah.
machinations done. You know, it's I know it's very dangerous to compare anything to the Third Reich, but you know, the people who made the trains run on time, you know what I mean, were some very evil people, but they were very good at what they do. And unfortunately, we've got some very evil people who are very good at what they do, which is finding the laws they can overturn and running the edges. And, you know, we see with the VA, I'm a veteran, you know, well, everything they do is to do what they want, but not enough to really get people mad, you know?
Yeah.
You know, and on that note, you know, his polls are in the tank. I mean, they are tanking. Right?
Yeah.
You know, let's, you know, even on his signature issue, immigration, finally, we're seeing cracks in the base, but according to polls. But more importantly, especially what you guys do, you know, is the propaganda ecosystem supports them. I don't see. Do you see cracks at all in the propaganda? I mean, I know Fox News is kind of eased off on Pete Hegseth, but I don't see any changes whatsoever in the system that backs him, which is this vast propaganda system.
No, I mean, there really aren't any cracks, and that's it.
No.
I mean, they have narrative dominance, and even if you think about something like the tariffs, for example, say, okay, if you try to divide the line across whether or not they're supporting Trump or not supporting Trump, they're all uniform. You can then get really deep and say, well, some are criticizing tariffs. They're saying we should do them a slightly different way, but they're basically all universally promising a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Right.
They're saying, look, if we could just stick through this, you know, one of their newest analogies is say it's like shooting a bow and arrow. And they say, you know, you have to pull that arrow back, and it really hurts. But if you let go too soon, the arrow doesn't go anywhere. So we're at this moment right now where we're all feeling the pain. But if we don't we don't go all the way back with Trump, then then we're really screwed because we're at the middle step. And so they're sort of like they're actually explaining to people now that they sort of have this sunk cost fallacy, which is like, hey, we're stuck with this guy and we should just go with it because he knows what he's doing. And I think that's, to me, is the tension point with these polls is that, sure, the polls say that, but if the polls were really reflective of reality, my basic bottom line would be, you would see other political changes around that. I mean, any other president that had those poll numbers, it typically corresponds with a problem with their popular support.
Right.
But there are no cracks. You have Congressman Bacon, who won a blue district. So of course he's going to say, but nobody else is really saying anything. No. And anybody else with those numbers, there would be a massive pushback and backlash. And there just isn't. That could change, I suppose. I think if he starts bombing Iran, there will be real splits within their narrative movement.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to see that happening right now. And I think that's the mistake a lot of sort of more establishment Democrats make, is just assume that, hey, if you do nothing, they'll sort of collapse on themselves. Like, no, actually, it will just calcify the narrative that they're telling. And right now, the vibes are pretty good over there.
And that's the scary. I think people realize that. I mean, I think there's too many people living in Trump 1.0. Schumer himself, remember what Schumer said? He said, we know from last time, once his popularity gets to 40%, the Republicans want to make deals with us. It's such a mistaken strategy, because this isn't Trump 1.0. This isn't a guy who's looking for, he jokes about 2028. But it's not going to be an election. You know what I mean? I mean, he has nothing to lose, and he has people who are smarter than him running this time. And they're much more scared, because the thing that happened between Trump 1.0 and Trump 2.0 is January 6th, which showed just how far the MAGA movement will go to punish those who oppose them. I think it's a really bad calculation. I mean, we were just talking the pre-show, folks. I think I've been doxxed again. I'm looking into it now. Angelo has stories of being doxxed. I mean, the movement is much more threatened. I never got doxxed or threatened in Trump 1.0. It's a daily occurrence in Trump 2.0, right? It is. There's this undercurrent of violence, isn't it?
There is, because one of the things to keep in mind, and this is probably why I think the polls also are slightly off, is that he organized and built power on what used to be considered the fringes.
Right.
And so when you do that, you bring in a bunch of people that not only have wacky ideas, but also are willing to take much more extreme actions, because it's fundamentally antisocial. It doesn't really align with a lot of basic values. And and so you're bringing in a lot of people that demand these things. And that's where the stakes go up. And he loves it. He loves the idea that people are willing to act on it. And, and that, I think, ties in with, they're doing more things as they go further toward authoritarianism, and because they feel more emboldened and more empowered and brazen to do it, like arresting judges, they keep projecting this perception of power, and the more you project it and others start to act that way, the more it becomes reality, even if it's built on the backs of sort of fringe lunatics and quicksand. It becomes real, though, and that's the thing we just all have to be mindful of. It is kind of scary.
And they've moved so much faster this time, right? I mean, if you look at the arc, it's hard to believe it's only been 100 days. They've done a lot of really major things. They've gotten rid of cabinet departments, essentially. You know, it's shocking how fast they're moving, and we still have 4 years to go in every measure. Do you think? And I saw you ask this the other day on MSNBC, but I want to kind of circle back in a different way, which is, the one thing I've sort of held out hope for myself is that reality will break through the propaganda at some point, right? At some point, empty wallets and boarded up Windows stores will match the sunny bullshit flowing from MAGA, OAN, Fox, and Trump. Do you see any possibility of that at this point, or is there any hope that maybe reality will settle in at some point?
Look, there's a very high likelihood that we're going to have real shortages, just based off of, that it's going to come up, and who people blame for that is going to matter, right? Yeah. And one thing that he's demonstrated, and this is where having that engine helps them, is that they can harness rage and frustration in a really significant way, And even if we don't have shortages, let's even say best case scenario, we don't have shortages, meaningful ones, but prices still shoot up. He's going to turn that into more populist rage and target corporations. He's going to say, look, they're raising the prices on you. It's not me. They're the ones doing it. And that's going to fuel his populist power, not weaken it from my perspective. I think there's a small chance that we can connect the harms, but there's not a lot of groundwork being done there just yet. But that's going to be the key. And I think they've really got a lot of tools in there. And really, they're not big fans of inoculations, but they're really good when it comes to inoculating themselves against accountability. And what that means is that they've sort of established that a lot of the harms are either malicious implementation or the deep state coming back around. Like the Hexa thing right now it's all being blamed on the deep state, right? Like
deep state, right? Resisting the changes he's bringing. Yes.
So there are some things that Project 2025 is deeply unpopular. We haven't gotten to the wild. And one of the things I always remind people of is we've barely scratched the surface of the things they're implementing. Wait till you get to the slaughtering of America's wild horses. That's something that conservatives love. You're not going to be able to blame Democrats for that. It's going to be obvious. It's part of it. They're going to do it. They're going to slaughter the horses. There's a whole big thing. It's a big part of it. I know it's crazy. And so there are going to be things where
the horses are running on, right? They want the land,
it's there are going to be things where it's obvious and visible.
Yeah.
But we're going to have to do the work ultimately. And I think that's the one thing. And I think Democrats assume the media is going to do it and ignore the fact that they're the opposition party. And the media is sort of waiting for that arc of a story so that they can tell it because they're not actually the opposition party. And we need to have more people like you out there just grinding and helping connect those dots.
And there's some hope. The DNC has set up a war room now. That's actually, they have. They brought in a real talented guy doing it. I'm seeing some great stuff coming out of it. It does feel like perhaps they're finally embracing what our opponents have been doing for a long time. And by the way, going everywhere. I mean, we're finding, I'll be honest, I've found it easier to get guests for the show from the DNC and from the elected.
I've noticed.
Yeah. I mean, you see it too, right? It's like all of a sudden they got the word, do the shows. I mean, Greg Lanson, of course, has been ringing that bell for a year now, say go everywhere, but we're seeing it. I did a town hall last night with Chris Murphy, for example. He did one of those people's town halls here in St. Louis, and I emceed it. We had 1,200 people, a standing room only, in St. Louis, in a red district, Missouri too. So I guess the money question, I'll let you go, is how do Democrats break through this ecosphere, and what do you see coming in the next few months? I mean, you've read Project 2025. Democrats, there does seem to be energy on the Democratic side. Where does this all come together in the next few months for you?
I think it's going to be a further consolidation around personnel in the government. They've implemented Schedule F now. They've reclassified employees. They're going to make a big shift there. They're going to really push on rescission and further impoundment, which is going to set up another, so that's control of the money. That's one of the real thing that the Congress actually has. And then we've barely scratched the surface of their LGBT crackdown. And that's part of this larger push around families. They really want to implement more traditional roles for men and women, and that they're going to intensify the crackdown. I think the same way you saw of that judge being arrested, wait until they start arresting librarians for pushing essentially pornography for any books that they see. And they've already planted the seeds. They've directed the DOJ to start to look into those things. I think that's the next big wave because it feeds into a climate of fear. It also reinforces the power that they have. It's a hard thing for Democrats in the past to fight about, right? I mean, a lot of people are like, well, we went too big on the trans issue. We talked too much about bathrooms. We've already sort of exposed that as a soft spot. On the flip side, I think you made the point. It's the trend line is starting to bend. I mean, remember, it's not a resource problem. There's plenty of resources. It was a priority problem. And last cycle, too much money was spent on paid media and not on building up enough of our infrastructure. And I think Democrats broadly have got that message that they need to rethink about their priorities. And investing in the storytelling and in the ability to connect those dots, that is power. You know, think about how much imbalance they actually have. And even with that massive imbalance, they barely got it. You know, and so they need that massive head start just to get the little bit of an edge that they had politically. We don't have to have a 50-50 even split, but just a little bit more will translate into a lot in terms of political power and political outcomes. So I'm not blindly optimistic, but I do see some real reason for hope, but also some real caution for fear.
Yeah, I find myself the same way. We joke a lot here on the show that for even after 22 years in the Army and politics, I saw this really weird optimistic streak. and I was encouraged yesterday when I saw 1,200 people in Missouri come out fired up. I see real anger. The protest movements are catching up. We're holding a veterans protest June 6th in DC. That energy, because in a lot of ways our problem hasn't always been Republican strength, but Democratic inaction or Democratic I think naivete about what they face. So it almost feels like at least on the one side, the opposition is waking up to the reality of what they face and acting and moving. And I think the other thing, of course, is like you said, the visuals and the optics. I mean, that's the whole point. The reason he hired all the people he did, Pete Hegseth, Christine Ohm, Pam Bondi, they look good on camera. And so what are they doing? They're on camera. And say what you will, but it works, right? You study propaganda. I do too. You know, I was in the Army. I was an Army communications guy. Visuals work, you know, seeing helicopters landing at the border shows action, even knowing he's actually arrested less people, you know, and Biden never got that. Biden and the Democrats don't get that. So, well, I will let you go. So I know you got things to do on a weekend. So thanks. Angelo, thanks for doing the show. Thanks for visiting us. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the work you guys keep up the good work you're doing. We're in this fight together and I just really appreciate it, man.
Yep.
That was a great conversation. Back. That was a great conversation, Angelo. I had to let him go. It is a fascinating time. Liz, I see your points. No, the DNC war room is very good, and I'm a skeptic. I was part of the DNC creators for the actual convention this year. They've actually created a DNC creators group, and the war room is run by a very smart guy who's running it. I was talking to some peers of mine just yesterday about it, and they're really impressed by what's happening. You're going to see a lot. They have set up the fact posting, which is kind of their rapid reaction social media channels. They're doing a lot more. They're having meetings each week. They're putting out messaging. One of the things I said 4 years ago, I wanted to see from the Dems that the Republicans have done so very well is coordinated messaging with their their influencers, the creators, the people who do the hard work. But they're very they're ramping up now. Liz, just give it a little bit there. I swear to God, they're doing there. It's been a great talk. It's an interesting time. So having said that, a lot going on. I had the opportunity along those lines. You know, I've been very demanding of the Democratic Party, and now they've started these people's town halls. I know you've seen AOC and Bernie Sanders, but the DNC and the DCCC and others are hosting town halls in tough districts across the country. Right here, I don't know if you can show some of the video and some of the pictures we took, but we had over 1,200 people show up in Missouri's second congressional district on Friday here in St. Louis County, where I live, where Ann Wagner has been the representative for going on 13 years and has not held a town hall since she was first elected. So we decided to have a town hall. Senator Chris Murphy came. You can see how big the crowd is. That's at a local hotel ballroom. There's yours truly at the podium. I was honored to be the MC for it. We had local state senators. We had Senator Chris Murphy come down and fire up the crowd. It was a very motivational, fired up thing. If you have the opportunity to attend these, the DNC is putting them out on their website called the People's Town Halls. There you can hear announcements of them. But if you got a chance to attend, I really recommend it. Yeah, we had 1,200 in that room plus overflow. We had over 1,600 sign up from the beginning. You can see here's the end. It's kind of cool. It was kind of cool. I think it's one of my biggest audiences I've ever spoken to live before, which was very cool. I really enjoyed it. It was a very cool experience. But if you have an opportunity to attend these People's Town Hall, they're doing all over the country. The list is on the DNC's website. I can find that link later for you. I'll put it out. But it is very cool what they're doing. It's an opportunity to bring people together, raise their voices, and organize. And that's the key to everything right now is organizing. We appreciate you guys going. I know we're getting close to the end of the show. We had a little long. I want the panel a little long this week because I wanted it to be long to talk to Lace. You can only join us at the end. We've got an incredible turnout today on our Substack. We've got almost 600 folks on Substack. It's our biggest audience ever on Substack. Thanks so so much. I appreciate all of you who subscribe to the Substack. That's fpwellman.substack.com. It is growing like crazy right now. One of the fastest growing Substacks in the country, according to a note I got from our friends at Substack the other day. Right now, it's all free. JJ and I are just talking behind the scenes about maybe doing a paid upgrade. So for those who are really passionate, want to join us on Substack, if you do right now, we do ask for paid upgrades. For the sole purpose of funding this operation, as you've mentioned, you've heard their name: JJ, the producer; Katie, the producer. There's me. I work for free, but I don't want them working for free. So your paid upgrade helps pay for that and make it all worthwhile for their time. So they're not just wasting their Sundays. But in the meantime, you can always find us here. I'll mention one more time something I mentioned offhand during the conversation with Angelo. We will be meeting in DC. We hope to bring out thousands of veterans in DC on June 6th, the 81st anniversary of D-Day. It's called Unite for Veterans. You can learn more at unite4veterans.org online. Sign up, join us in DC on June 6th. We will be announcing a local partnership where you can do a local version of that if you want, but we really are hoping to have a giant turnout in DC on Friday, June 6th, to show the administration and those in power, all of them, that we will not take the decimation of our veterans' benefits and health care in our community sitting down. We've fought for 20 years in the global war on terror to get things with the new GI Bill, get the new health care, get the PACT Act. And to see that stripped in just 3 months, we're not going to sit down and take it. So meet us in DC on June 6th. Learn more at unite4veterans.org. That's where we're taking people's emails and all and putting it there. I would love to see you there. In the meantime, we are here every Sunday, folks. I'm still on Midas Touch Network every Friday night at 11. There's a new show right now up on Midas Touch Network where I talk to Heather Williams of the Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee, DLCC, about the fights, local fights. I saw somebody mention on Substack about it starts at the local level. My show this week was with DLCC President Heather Williams, talking about just that. That's on the Midas Touch Network exclusively. You can find us here every Sunday morning, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Sorry, Pacific time. We start early. We got another great list of guests showing up next week. We already know Steve Hofstetter, the comedian, is going to join us for our panel next week. If you know Steve, it's going to be a lot of laughs because Steve is hilarious. I just saw him live here in St. Louis. So I hope you'll join us next week with another incredible show. As always, we'll see you on the internet. Stay in touch. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, JJ. Thank you, Katie. None of this would happen if it wasn't them behind the scenes. When you guys see me doing an interview and my eyes are wandering, it's because they're frantically trying to get a guest to be able to connect, or telling me that somebody wants to murder me, whatever it may be at the moment. But none of this would work without JJ and Katie, and I'd be bereft without them. So thank them, especially for all of you wonderful regulars and guests. Thank you for joining us. We've hit probably our biggest show ever today. Thank you for that. Tell your friends, sign up on YouTube, on Democracy Channel. We'll see you again here next week. Stay in the fight, folks. That's all we can do.